filmed a video earlier, I didn't like it. So you know what I'm gonna do now? Film a different one. Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome back to another video. Yep. So today's video, I thought I'd do something really weird. It's a weird concept, but I'm not the first person to do this video. Carrie Hope Fletcher did it with one of her co-stars from Les Mis. You can check it out on her channel. I'll put a link below if you want to watch it. But basically they talked about things that we take for granted that we don't really think about. I watched that video one night and then I started writing a list of things that we don't think about, that we kind of take for granted, and I was like, hey, that's a video. So I thought I'd make that video. So the first thing was like phone calls. Just the fact that you can take that little box that's in your pocket that is basically a supercomputer connected to a whole bunch of things in the world. You press some random numbers and all of a sudden you can talk to someone without being next to them, but having them be on the other side of the world, but it still feels like they're right there. I think it's Alexander Graham Bell invented the phone, or is it Thomas Edison? I don't know my history well. But the fact that that is a thing we use every single day, and that we don't have to have this big clunky thing, and we don't have to have it attached to the wall like it used to be, or like we don't have to use a telephone box anymore, just use our phones. And on the same vein of that, it's FaceTime is really weird too, because it's kind of the same thing as a phone call, but instead you can literally see what I'm doing while I'm doing it without having to be next to me, but at the same time experiencing what I'm doing without interacting with me and actually like physically know what I'm doing is really kind of crazy. Another thing that I think that we all take for granted that I think is super crazy too is the idea of a picture. You press a button, whether that be on a touch screen or a physical button or whatever, and you flash a light and you pause time for like a split second, capture it, and then you have it forever. And when you look at it, you know exactly what was happening in that picture, where it was, and the memories of it being in your mind. Like you can physically, I don't know, I just think that's crazy. In the same vein as pictures, some people might think that a certain picture is pretty, other people don't think that it's pretty, or like some people say that they see one thing but other people see something else. Like that whole debacle between, is the dress white and, what is it, white and gold or blue or black? Like that's all because of one picture. Another thing that I think is really weird that we don't think about, but it is thrill rides. So like roller coasters, drop rides, things like that. The crazy thing to me is not the actual ride, because it's just like a feat of engineering and I think that's cool. But what I think is crazy is that people are terrified of certain rides like that. I mean, granted, so am I. I'm scared of certain roller coasters. I used to be terrified of them, but now I actually kind of like them. But it's just the fact that like, you driving to the theme park that you're going to is actually scarier than the ride itself. Because thrill rides like these are screened hundreds upon thousands of times to make sure they're safe. They're tested before the park even opens just to make sure everything is working properly. There are like safety harnesses plus engineering and physics behind everything to make sure everything stays and goes where it needs to go. It's scary to some people because they think that something could go wrong or they could fall off and die, which, you know, it can happen, but at the same time, you going into your car, there's more likely of a chance of something bad happening to you then than it is on a roller coaster. But not a lot of people think that, because driving is kind of second nature to a lot of people, just because I have to get up, drive to school, and come home. Just because it's a natural part of your day. But it's a lot more dangerous just driving to school than it is being on a roller coaster. I feel like I could talk about this for a long time and I probably should not, but I don't know, I just think it's crazy. Maybe like the whole fear is the G-force kind of thing, and it's also like a flight or what is it? Fight or flight sort of reaction, because you know something scary is gonna happen to you, and it's a lot of like there's just a lot happening to you and your body's gonna go through a lot just because it's like G-force and all these things, and it's crazy. Another thing that I think is crazy is the internet, because we have like the entire wealth of knowledge that is contained within the universe right in our pockets, on our phones or on a laptop, whatever, and we can access it, but it's not like a library where you have to physically be on the internet to get information. You just click or you touch a couple things and all of a sudden now you're more educated on the news, for example, or you know how to build a house, or you know how to fix a flat tire. It's kind of mind-boggling, just the fact that like there's so much on the internet that you know, but that's just like surface level internet. There's like scary internet that I don't want to talk about because I'm scared. Just watch Black Mirror and you'll get it. We've grown accustomed to the internet, and we know that there's like all this stuff that's floating around that we're even too lazy to look things up anymore, and we just ask other people to do it. Like, have you ever thought of that? When someone is on Instagram and they play a song and you hear the lyrics, people automatically say, "What song is this?" instead of going onto Google and typing up the words that you can hear. Sure, if it's like an instrumental and it's only like 3 seconds, but the song sounds super good, it's like you can't necessarily tell. But if it's like clearly they're saying lyrics that you can easily Google, people will just, their first reaction is just say, "Oh, what song is this?" instead of actually Googling it for themselves. And I mean, I'm guilty of it, I'm not gonna lie. Like, on the same vein, music is just like, it's a cool thing. It's like, I know that there are some people that don't listen to music, and I think that's weird to me. Like, who came up with the idea, like, back in the day? Someone somewhere made a sound with a rock. They hit another rock and it sounded different, and then they put them together and it's a song all of a sudden. And then you get to years and years and people are like, let's put some string on a piece of wood and like hit it, and that's a guitar. Or like, let's take a string on a piece of wood and then take another string but finer and different, you hit it against each other, and that's a violin. And then we get to pianos, and now it's all about synths and like 808s and electronic sounds, and it's like, who must have thought that, hey, this is a thing, let's just like make more of it? Which I'm glad that they did. Pentatonics did a video in acapella of the evolution of music from like Gregorian chants to like current pop music. And it's just crazy to hear how different songs used to be and how they sounded like. On the same vein of that, I just think it's also crazy how these sounds put together sound good to some people, but don't sound good to other people. For example, like The Cure by Lady Gaga, for example. I don't really like it that much. It's an okay song to me, personally. Someone else, it's probably like the best song they've heard in a long time, saved pop music, yada yada yada, I get it, you're a monster or whatever. How do our brains know that I like the way this sounds versus I don't like the way this sounds? What in our lives shapes us liking something? I mean, surely it's got to do with like who you grew up with and like what kind of music they listen to, but I mean, my last thing is accents. So the idea behind accents is we speak the same language, but you live in a slightly different part of where I live and you sound totally different, right? Like the most obvious ones are American accents, English accents, and Australian accents. Because you have American accents, which is this, and then you get to Australian accents and they elongate the vowels and they say things like water, and you know, it's all like super, you know, this. But then you have English accents and it's a bit different, isn't it? Well, this is a bit Cockney, but they sound different to what we sound like in America. And they use words that we don't use. For example, like aubergine to the UK To us, it's an eggplant. Where did that, But then in the same token, like those are the obvious ones that you know, accent wise. But even in the United States, we have the California accent, which is what I have. But then you go to the South and it sounds super different. You go to the Midwest and it sounds super different. But even in California, it's not necessarily an accent, it's more of a dialect, but it's still crazy. Because we have Southern California, we say things like a lot. But then you go to like NorCal and they say things like hecka, hella. So I think I'm gonna cut it off here. This video is just crazy. This was a good idea now, but I'm like scared of life and questioning everything. I'm like having an existential crisis while I'm filming this video. And I don't know what to do with myself now. Thank you for watching me going through an existential crisis and questioning everything that I think is true and real. Thank you for watching this video. I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see you when I see you, I guess. Bye, guys.